Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the tests again. This is another practice test. The test will be tomorrow. Just a couple quick things before I get through solving all the problems for you. Just remember, if it's a regular inequality symbol, it's got an open circle and it's going to have parentheses on the interval notation. If it's got a line underneath it, the equal to, it's going to be a closed circle, and it's going to have brackets on the interval notation. And if it eats the number when you're done, it's going to go to the left on your line. And if it eats the variable, it's going to go to the right. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to solve these kind of quickly. So if you have any questions, you can always pause, rewind, and go back. And again, you can always ask us, your teachers, right? We're here to help. We want to help. You just got to let us. So remember, guys, one other thing I didn't talk about up there is if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you get the warning telling you need to flip the sign, right? So let's go through this as quickly as I can so I don't take all your time, right? So this is a two-step on number one, right? We always get rid of what's adding and subtracting first, and then what's multiplying and dividing last, unless it's being grouped. Like here on number 4, it groups that entire top by dividing both terms, right? This -2 only multiplies or divides with the x. So we're going to get rid of the add subtract first because it's not grouping them. So add 9, that gives me 8 is greater than x over -2. Then we have to multiply both sides by -2, and there's my warning, right? Because I am multiplying by -2. So my sign is going to flip, and I'm going to have -16 is now less than x. So when I graph it at -16, I would have an open circle. And I would normally write 2 other numbers here, but it's kind of hard to write on my touchscreen. So I would expect you guys to write three numbers there. And it's eating the variable, so it's going to go to the right. So my interval notation, the least number is -16. The greatest would be infinity. Infinity always has a parenthesis, and since -16 is an open circle, it's also going to have a parenthesis. So that would be my answers. Just like that. Okay. On number 2, we start by combining like terms. So I've got 12 and 8 can combine. It's 12 plus 8. So 20 minus r less than or equal to 42. Now I'd get rid of the 20. It's positive, so I'm going to minus 20 to each side. It gives me -r is less than or equal to 22. Now, still not quite done, right? It's a -r, so I have to divide by a -1. I'm dividing by a negative number, so warning, right? It's going to flip the sign. R is going to now be greater than or equal to a -22. So when I graph it at -22, it would be a closed circle, and it's eating the variable, so it goes to the right. So -22 would be the least, infinity would be the greatest, parenthesis on the infinity, bracket on the -22, because that's a closed circle. Okay, so that would be my answers. Please, guys, on your test, circle your answers or square them off or something so I know what your answers are. Okay, number 3, very similar. I've got something adding technically because it's positive, right? So I minus the 19 first, and that would be 8 is greater than or equal to n, -n. Still not quite done. Divide by the -1. And that's going to flip the sign because it's a negative number. So -8 is less than or equal to n. So I have -8 with a closed circle, and it is eating the variable, so it's going to go to the right. And yeah, that would be your graph. And then it would be -8 to infinity with a parenthesis and a bracket there. And that'd be your answers. Okay. Now here, the -10 is grouping, so I have to get rid of that -10 first. So I'm going to start by multiplying negative 10. Again, you always ungroup first, right? So those cancel out, and you'd have to flip the sign because you're multiplying by a negative number. So negative 10x plus 40 is now less than negative 150. And then it's a two-step. You'd minus the 40 next, which gives you negative 10x is less than negative 190. And then you divide by negative 10. And warning, going to flip again. X is now greater than positive 19. So on my graph, at 19, I would have an open circle, and it's going to the right. So 19 to infinity with a parenthesis on both would be your answer. Okay. Next one, I'm going to start by combining like terms. So 5 minus 8 is negative 3a, is less than or equal to negative 4a minus 9. Then we got to move the variable to one side. I'm going to move that negative 4 because the a is already by itself over there. So I want to move that over there. So that gives me a is less than or equal to negative 9, and a is by itself, so I'm done. So graph it, negative 9, there'd be a closed circle, it's eating the numbers, it's going to go to the left. So it'd be negative infinity to negative 9, with a bracket on the 9, and a parenthesis on the infinity. And that would be your answers. Okay, kind of intruding on the space in my other equation over here. Last one on this page, we start by distributing the negative 8, right? So I'd have positive 40k plus 2 minus 7k is greater than negative 148. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So 40 minus 7 is 33k plus 2 is greater than negative 148. And then two-step equation, I'm going to minus 2 to each side. Right? Oh, I done messed up. I messed up. Okay, that should be a minus 16. Minus 16. Okay, I didn't distribute to both terms. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Like, that doesn't look like it's going to work. But you catch these things, right? That's the important part. Negative 148 plus 16 is negative 132. So 33k is greater than negative 132. And then the last step is I divide by 33. And I'm going to get k is, and I didn't do anything to my sign, right? Because that's a positive 33. K is greater than negative 4. So I would graph that. So negative 4, and it's open circle. It's going to go to the right because it's eating the variable. So that would be negative 4 to infinity with a parenthesis on both. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next page here. So this one, all I have to do is divide by 7. That's a tough one. Divide by 7, and negative 119 divided by 7 is negative 17. And it didn't do anything to my sign because it's a positive 7. And that would be one answer. And then we graph it. At negative 17, there'd be a closed circle. It's eating the number. So it's going to go to the left. So that'd be negative infinity to negative 17. A bracket on the 17 and a parenthesis. And that would be your answers. Okay. Over here, we're going to start by, again, ungrouping by distributing, right? Going to distribute. That's going to give me negative 8v plus 38 is greater than negative 7v plus 42. Then we got to move the variable to one side. Doesn't really matter which one, so I'm going to move the 8v over here. That's going to give me 38 is greater than v plus 42, because negative 7 plus 8 is 1, so that's a 1v, right? And then you would just minus 42. And that would be -4 is greater than b. So on my graph, I have -4. It'd be an open circle. It's eating the number, so it's going to go to the left. So -infinity to -4, both in parentheses, would be your answers. Okay. All right. Next one, we have a couple of things happening to the variable right there, right? We've got something multiplying and dividing. Both of those things are going to happen last because they're not grouping. So we're still going to get rid of the thing that's adding here. So we're going to -25 first. And 34 minus 25 would be 9, greater than or equal to 9x over -4. Then we're going to get rid of the dividing because that's going to happen before the multiplying, right? So we're going to multiply by -4 to both sides. And cancels out. You're going to get -36 is now less than, because you got the warning, 9x, and then you divide by 9, and you're going to get -4. So -4 is less than or equal to x. So when we graph it, -4, there'd be a closed circle. It's eating the variable, so it's going to go to the right. So -4 to infinity with a parenthesis and a bracket. And that's our answers. Okay. Last one. This is the one where we have to ungroup first, right? So we've got this 3 grouping the 25 minus b. We can't do anything with that until it's not dividing those. So we're going to multiply by 3. Now, the problem with this is there's more than one term still over here, right? This is why we usually do it last. So if there's more than one term, when you multiply or divide, you're technically doing it to the entire side. So since this whole side is dividing by 3, it just cancels out. But this side, you just have to distribute to both terms. And you'd have 25 minus b is less than 3 plus 21b. And then you would just move the variable to one side, so you could add b. Again, doesn't matter which one, but I like to keep it positive. So 25 is less than 3 plus 22b now. And then you minus the 3, and you get 22 is less than 22b. Divide by 22, and you get 1 is less than b. So when you graph it, 1, there'd be an open circle. B is it's eating the variable, so it's going to go to the right. So 1 to infinity with a parenthesis and a parenthesis, like that. Okay. Now, on this last one, last section, these are level 4 questions, right? So we are writing inequality for each story problem and then solve and graph and write the interval notation. So Susan is going on a trip. Her flight costs $260. Her hotel is $115 each night. Remember, each is a key word. Each means it's going to be multiplying by your variable, right? Most likely. Most likely. Not every time, but most likely. Each, per, every, a, like all those things. That's implying that it's going to multiply with your variable. She wants to spend at least $1,200 on the trip. How many nights can she stay? So $1,200 is the total she's going to spend. I'm trying to figure out how many nights she can stay. She wants to spend at least $1,200, so she spends $1,201. That's okay. If she spends exactly $1,200, that's okay. But $1,199, that's not okay. So it has to be more than $1,200. I know that it's going to be 115 each night, and I'm trying to figure out how many nights, right? So 115 times the number of nights. She has that one-time fee of 260, so plus 260. And she wants to spend more than 1,200, right? So the side with the X has to be bigger. And she can spend exactly 1,200, so it'd also be an equal. So there's the inequality. And it's just a two-step one, right? So you'd start by minusing 260 to each side. Gives you 115 is greater than X. Is 115 is greater than or equal to 1,000, nope, 900. 930 140. Yeah. And then you would divide by 115. And 940 divided by 115 is 8.17. So realistically, they're not going to let you stay 0.17 a night and charge you 0.17, right? So she needs to stay actually 9 nights because 8 is not going to be enough. So 9 is what is the more realistic option there, right? Sign stays the same. No, I wrote that on the wrong side. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Tell I've been talking too long. All right, and there's our number line. So 9 be a closed circle. It's even the variables. It's going to go to the right. So 9 to infinity with a parenthesis and a bracket. Okay, that would be your answer. Okay, Brian doesn't like to say hello to more than 120 people a day. He has already said hello to 23 people. How many people can he say hello to? So 120 is the max that he wants to say hello to. This is how many people he wants or can say hello to, right? Plus, he's already said hello to 23 people. Now, can he say hello to more than 120 people? No. Can he say hello to exactly 120 people? Yeah, that's fine. Can he say hello to 119 people? Yeah, that's fine. So this side has to be greater than, nope. 120 has to be greater than or equal to. Because he can say less, say hello to less people, right? You just can't say it to more people. So to solve it, you just minus the 23, right? And x has to be less than or equal to 97. So on our graph, 97 would be a closed circle, go to the left. So it'd be negative infinity to 97 with a bracket and a parenthesis. And that'd be your answers. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know. We're here to help. We want to help. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll see you guys out there.